Hi everyone, welcome to X-Raised, where knowledge meets inspiration in the intricate dance of industry evolution. I'm your host Miles, and today's episode is a breath of fresh air, breath of fresh mountain air, quite literally. We're getting into the world of 100% natural living with a guest whose story is all about purpose, purity, and a bit of creative fun. He's a father, author, entrepreneur, and the creator of the Frequency Diet. After years of working in the corporate world, he traded in spreadsheets for sustainability and founded a brand that's redefining what clean truly means in personal care. From Zurich, Switzerland to households across Europe, his company, PURU Suisse, has become known for its 100% natural, non whitening mineral sunscreen and body care products, all made with integrity, transparency, and heart. And of course, I want Mies to mention that he's also the mind behind Captain PURU, a charming character on a mission to protect both skin and sea. Joining us today is the founder of PURU Suisse, Sylvain. Hi, Sylvain. Welcome to our community.
Hi, Miles. Thank you. That was quite the intro. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It's great to have you, Sylvain, and your story really caught my attention because it blends something so personal with something so impactful. You started in finance, which is my field as well, and then one day you made this bold leap into founding a company rooted in natural living. So, what sparked that moment, Sylvain, when you knew it was time to leave the corporate world behind and build something that truly aligned with your values?
Yeah, well, it wasn't a kind of sudden decision, really, just to sort of leave that corporate world, right? I mean, I grew up in the UK on a macrobiotic organic diet, right? Many years ago. And yeah, I was always in this natural world. And yeah, my career took me to Zurich, Switzerland, where I continued to work in finance. But when I first came to Switzerland, I sort of found it hard to find the same kind of natural products that I was used to finding in England, right, in the UK. And yeah, that sort of led me to start making products myself, in the kitchen, just mixing up coconut oil, cacao butter, and even made some
Yeah.
sunscreen, etc., right? And yeah, that kind of nagging entrepreneurial feeling was always there. I had a background and family that's entrepreneurial. And really, I guess that kind of frustration sparked my creativity enough to see an opportunity and one that was dear to my heart, right? So yeah, making my products kind of led to founding the company and seeing that opportunity, and yeah, really the sort of combination of factors came together to give me that confidence to set up the company, and I actually set it up still while I was in a finance role, right? So I was actually working for a startup, so a crypto finance startup in Zug, Switzerland at the time. So yeah, I did it at the same time and had that kind of entrepreneurial insight into, a company that's highly financed and really just went about setting up this Puru on my own, really out of that, right? But
Uh-huh.
yeah, there was obviously frustration with the corporate world as well, and yeah, just had to do it really.
Yeah. Well, it's great that you seem like aligned your career with your purpose.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people reach that crossroads, Sylvain, but few actually make the jump. And I'm sure it takes real conviction to turn frustration into a business that helps others live better. And speaking of early convictions, I read you grew up in London, as you said earlier, in the 80s. So
Yep.
long before clean living had its hashtag moment. How
Mhm.
did that upbringing, Sylvain, growing up on a macrobiotic organic diet, shape the mindset and mission behind what PURU stands for today?
Yeah, I think it just shows that kind of living is just ingrained in my culture, right? So it's not just a passion; it's just a way of life, right? So for example, I look at every ingredient for every product, right? And
Uh-huh.
and even now, pretty much exclusively buy organic and try local seasonal food as well as much as possible, right? It's not always possible, and there's always the temptation for something else, right? And certainly if you're eating at restaurants and takeaways and things like that, which you have to treat yourself with occasionally, I guess it's not always reaching those kind of standards, but certainly careful, right? And
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's just really part of my life, and now I kind of the meaning and purpose, right, behind my own journey and existence to then educate others and use that knowledge and experience that I have to help others kind of along the way, right? And see, the benefits of living more naturally and natural products and that whole kind of holistic lifestyle.
Mhm. Yeah, well, that's such a powerful foundation. So, meaning, purpose, and that's your legacy, basically. I mean, I believe simplicity is underrated. Seems,
Hmm.
right? And when you moved to Zurich, Sylvain, I remember you mentioned struggling to find truly natural personal care products, which led you to creating your own. That's brave and brilliant, I would say. So, how did that personal challenge turn into a business that now serves customers all across Europe?
Well, yeah, it's just seeing that opportunity, right? So, um, look,
Mhm.
seeing that there was a market need for it, right? And I think that's how many businesses and entrepreneurs start, right? You create something for yourself, basically, right? And that happened to me, right? I would go to the most natural stores, for example, right? They're called the Reform House in Zurich, for example. And many of those have actually closed down since then, which maybe says something not so good, right? But yeah, I would have to go into those stores and then spend, partially was a kind of language challenge, I guess, right at the time, but I would spend, lots of time having to read ingredients bottles, this type of thing. And yeah, just taking up more time. So I kind of
Uh-huh.
saw it as a necessity and something that I need, basically, right? And what would save me time, right? So it's kind of solving a problem that existed for me and seeing that as a problem that would exist, that exists for others and that needs solving, right? Obviously now you have kind of more modern apps that can scan the barcode and that kind of thing, right? That can look at the ingredients, and there's, some caution needs to be taken with those as well because, they don't always have, every kind of detail in mind. So you need to rely on your own judgment as well. But yeah, just really trying to solve that problem and that need that existed for me, and seeing that it would be solvable for others, right? And
Mhm.
Switzerland's kind of a bit behind in that respect, right? I think France and the UK, which I know better, are more advanced when it comes to kind of natural products and truly natural products. Whereas, some of the stuff I was buying and getting frustrated with in Zurich, 10 years
Mhm.
ago now, yeah, it was kind of what you call greenwashing now. I guess that term didn't exist then, but it's kind of, yeah, natural looking products, natural looking wording, but then, that wasn't really backed up by actual purely 100% natural products. So, and that's what I saw I wanted, right? I wanted, if I could see the word 100% natural on the label, then it would save me time essentially, right? And that's what I was looking for and looking to solve.
Mhm. Well, talking about checking the label about the ingredients of a product, I think it's also worth mentioning that what you shared with me, you said what you leave out is just as important as what you put in,
Hmm.
which is so true, not just for products, but in life too. And what you mentioned also is one of the best kind of growth stories, solving your own problem and
Hmm.
realizing thousands of others share it. I think that authenticity is what people connect with most today. And Peru has this wonderfully simple, honest identity, 100% natural, no fillers, no fluff. So
Yeah.
in this world full of, eco-friendly marketing buzzwords, how do you keep Peru's promise genuine and make sure people know your products truly walk the talk?
Yeah, so I mean, part of that is, looking at all of the ingredients, how they're sourced, and making sure that that is purely natural. Because, even there's some details in ingredients, right? You have to make sure that it's sourced, it's processed properly, right, with the right manufacturing and all of that kind of thing. So yeah, it's just making sure that we stick to our promises. A part of that obviously is that we have, certifications from Europe's biggest and most reputable, I would say, certification body, which is called EcoCert. And all of our products, Puru products, have their highest certification, which is the Cosmos Organic standard. And yeah, they have a really vigorous review process, certification process, but also annual audits as well, right? So I'm audited with them every year, and they're tough, right? I certainly always have it on my calendar in the back of my mind, right? And as the kind of yearly date gets close, it's something I'm always conscious and thinking about and preparing for to make sure that, I've met all of their standards, right? And they have to approve every label as well, right? So they give confidence to the way you have to label your products. But also, yeah, looking at all of the ingredients, how they're sourced, and but not only that, right? There's even some kind of details within that, right? We make sure that the ingredients really are what they say they are, and that we label them properly. And we
Mhm.
go even a bit further, right? We, as well as having the kind of inky name, which is the sort of international standard name for the ingredient that has to be listed. So, there's not kind of any playing with the words. We actually, in addition, put the sort of commonly used word of the ingredient in brackets as well on our products, and we label it, and we put all that, every ingredient on our website as well, and that's where to be careful, right? When you go to other websites and they say natural products, this type of thing, often they don't actually list the full ingredient list, right? They'll kind of say, oh,
Yeah.
can key ingredients, this type of thing, right? So we're really, in our niche, and understand that our customers, and what I would be wanting to look for, right, is clear labeling, clear um, listing and naming of ingredients.
Mhm. That Swiss precision definitely shines
Mhm.
through, Sylvain. Clean, efficient, no shortcuts. And I like it that you use non-nanos zinc in your products, right?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And to have SPF on a sunscreen is
Mm-hmm.
either chemical or mineral based sunscreen, right? Chemical
Yeah.
sunscreen, um, you know, typically uses nanoparticles, right? And that causes a
Yeah.
chemical reaction with the sun's waves on your skin, and that happens under your skin, and that can cause, as well as the offset of heat, but other kind of nasty chemicals that can go into your bloodstream, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas for a mineral-based sunscreen, there's two types of ingredient that can be used to put on, so you can put SPF on a bottle, essentially, right? And that's
Uh-huh.
titanium dioxide is one, and that's actually banned as a food ingredient in the EU, Switzerland, and the US as well, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
what people used to put in food, processed foods, to make it more white, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Um, so we use the other one permissioned for a mineral-based sunscreen, which is zinc oxide, and we go
Uh-huh.
further and use a non-nanometric zinc oxide as well. So we clearly label that, and yeah, we feel that's the safest ingredient both for your skin, but also for the aquatic life in the water when you go swimming, because I don't know if you've ever seen it, right, in the swimming pool or the lake, even the sea, right? You can see that kind of film of sunscreen on
Mm-hmm.
the water, right, during the summer when everyone's, putting their sunscreen on and then jumping in the water straight away, right?
Yeah.
Um, and that affects not only you, but all the other people in the pool as well, right? Or the lake, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's the lake, then the aquatic life as well. So
Right.
yeah, we feel that ours is the best for your skin, obviously, and then for the aquatic life, and even certain chemical sunscreen ingredients now are banned, right, in certain places
Mm-hmm.
like Hawaii, Palau, Thailand, and other Caribbean islands, and at some point maybe even Switzerland, right, need to consider that. And yeah, it's just an easy problem to solve, right? Because you can just buy and be more responsible and just buy a more natural sunscreen when you
Mm-hmm.
when you go bathing, right? And that's better for yourself, but also, yeah, others, right?
Mm-hmm. I like that you emphasize the difference between using a chemical and mineral sunscreen. I mean, that's very basic for the audience to know, I guess. And I think as customers, we really appreciate that kind of transparency, Sylvain, especially in wellness and skincare. I remember one of the guests told me that whatever you put on your skin, whatever you spread on your face, it's
Mm-hmm.
like what you feed your body. So it's very essential to choose a natural product because, as you said, it goes through the bloodstream, right?
Yeah, yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and it's kind of also, as I touch on in some of my books, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
your vibrational frequency, right? You're emitting a vibrational field. The lights and energetic waves are reflecting off of you, which other people see, right, and sense
Mm-hmm.
as well. And if you're using, essentially chemical and toxic type ingredients, right? Not only you're making yourself more toxic, you're decreasing your vibrational frequency, right? And how people perceive you. For
Mm-hmm.
example, to put it in a more practical sense, is like, when someone enters a room, right, and they have this kind of aura or vibe about them, right?
Uh-huh.
That's basically because they're looking after themselves, right? But not
Mm-hmm.
only in terms of food, but what they put on their skin, and avoiding toxins and that kind of thing, but also just in general, right? Their kind of happiness and how they're fulfilled they are, right? They kind of exude that positive aura, So yeah, it's not the maybe the biggest effect on that, but certainly, yeah, the skin is the biggest organ that everyone sees and that reflects that aura essentially, right? And yeah, what you put on there makes a difference, right? And
Yeah.
obviously with sunscreen, that's even more prominent because you use it in the sun, right? So it's the when your skin is most exposed to the sun, and yeah, you want to avoid getting sunburn as well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, when you're kind of cooking in a way, right, in the sun, or getting exposure to the sun's waves, then it's important what interacts with that, right?
Yeah.
And to not get burnt, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for all those, for sharing your knowledge, Sylvain. Now let's talk about something more fun. Captain
Cool.
Peru. He's
hmm
not just a mascot. He's a
hmm
message. I absolutely love how this character makes sustainability both approachable and adventurous. What inspired you to create Captain Peru, Sylvain, and how does he capture the spirit of your brand?
Yeah, interestingly, when we first set up the company, right, and we were still fighting to get some traction, right, as all startups do, right, get attention I kind of, started doing a lot of research into how many big companies, how they scale and what kind of marketing techniques they use. And I noticed that a lot have a mascot, right? Have a kind of cute, friendly character that they use for that. So that was kind of always in the back of the mind, right? And really, it was my kind of venture into Web3 and NFTs, right? And seeing what was taking off there. And one particular one was these pudgy penguins, basically, right? And it was
Yeah.
one that my daughter would sit on my knee looking at these pictures, right, on the screen, and she would just go crazy every time she saw these penguins, right? She would just be
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, they're so cute. I want to see more of them, right? You need to buy this one, Daddy." This kind of type of thing, right? So first of all, that kind of reaction was kind of crazy, right? That was always there. And yeah, we sponsored this professional sailing race in France and Spain called the Puru Transgascon, right? And the second time we did it, I was thinking, well, what can I do to try and attract more attention and get more excitement towards this? And there, this Pudgy Penguin community was very passionate, right, and super supportive for people using some of the imagery. And yeah, I had the idea and started looking and found this one of these Pudgy Penguins with a sailor hat, right, and then it's kind of just instantly spoke to me, right? So I just bought it
Mm-hmm.
immediately and then set out to sort of think, yeah, how can I use this as a part of the race and have it as a mascot for the race? So that I went ahead and did that, and we got approval from the Pudgy Penguins team and this type of thing. And even these Pudgy Penguins, they weren't, a massive venture at the time. They'd been taken over by this exciting entrepreneur, and he was yeah, making a lot of moves there, but it was still early in that. And yeah, we went ahead and did this race, and I got a 6 foot inflatable of the penguin, right? And the reaction at the sailing village was incredible, right? Kids would just, again, like my daughter, like the kids would just run up to this inflatable and hug it, and it was just like, wow, this. The first thing was like this imagery, this art just has super appeal, basically, right? It has this wide appeal, and that's kind of why it took off as well. So from
Mm-hmm.
there, then it was just an obvious idea, right, to put the the penguin, the Captain PURU pudgy penguin with the sailor hat on the kids and baby sunscreen, right? With the
Ah,
idea that as it's such appealing, if mummy and kid is in the pharmacy, for example, right, looking for products, the kid would instantly, like I've seen before, point at the product and say, "Mummy, I want that one," right? That was the kind
yeah.
of thesis behind it. And yeah, and since then we did that. We've doubled the size of the penguin. I was very cautious at first, right? Putting a penguin on a sunscreen product, and maybe some people still think it's crazy, perhaps, but I kind of linked it together and made it make sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also linked more of my passions together. And sailing is something I'm still kind of getting into in a way. And yeah, it's become a mascot for the brand now, right? It just made it make sense. We get lots of requests to get the inflatable around different events, and I go around Europe and even the
Mm-hmm.
world, right, with this penguin and the story, and go around explaining it to people and sharing that message. But yeah, but now it's become a way to fascinate and attract and help spread that message, right? And of
Mm-hmm.
my own personal mission, which is, to spread the education of more natural health, especially when it comes to sun care and the benefits for the environment and everyone.
Yeah, wonderful. And I adore that, Sylvain. It's
Mhm.
a guardian of skin and sea. I mean,
Mhm.
it's such a clever way to turn education into inspiration, especially for families and young audiences. It's proof that doing good doesn't have to be boring. It can actually be
Mhm.
fun.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So before we wrap this up, Sylvain, there's so much philosophy woven into your work, from the ingredients you use to the character you created. If you could leave the audience with one message about what natural truly means through the
Mhm.
lens of Peru, what would it be?
Yeah, so it's not just a buzzword, right? And certainly there's not really any official meaning for natural, right? And I think many people argue everything is natural, right? So then, how does it have much meaning? But what it
Mm-hmm.
truly means to me is that, what is in front of you, right? And this is one of the conclusions I made when it comes to, on my book, right? The Frequency Diet, was that it's not just about fancy labels, organic, and this type of thing. It's what actually is in front of you, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
you could get an organic apple, but maybe the supermarket has sprayed it with some kind of freshener type spray, right? That would
Yeah.
question whether it truly is, and how long has it been there, and how fresh is it, right? So same with anything, right? It's not just like, oh, this is a nice brand, a nice product. The founder's cool, got a nice story or whatever. It's like, well, you have to really think about the quality and the source of it, right? And really, it's about trust, and making sure that what you have is actually a high quality, high vibrational quality product, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I understand and work hard to make sure that the end product that our customers get is high quality and you can trust, right? So, like we said, right, 100% natural, and Puru, stands for purity, but also trust, and I do that also through the authenticity of our marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't have this kind of fear-based messaging that we put on social media that a lot of sun care companies do have, right? It's very much fear-based messaging about the sun, about exposure, but we actually say get some sun, right? Some sun
Yes.
is good for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's just a little, but just don't get burned, right? And
Yeah.
try and educate people on understanding their skin, monitoring their skin, understanding all the different variables from altitude, reflection over water and snow, and all the different types of things that will affect you getting burnt, right? And reapplying sunscreen when you can, and avoid getting burnt, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always say it hurts for a reason, right? So
Yes.
you don't want to be in pain, right? That
Mm-hmm.
pain is a signal to your brain to say, hey, stop doing whatever you were doing before, right? And don't
Yeah.
do it again.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, that's the signal. And yeah, so it's really about, trust, quality, source, and understanding yourself and your environment, right?
Yeah. As they say, prevention is better than cure.
Absolutely, yeah. And if you do, we do make mistakes, of course, but I like to say as well that if you make the same mistake a second time, then the second time it was a decision, right? So make better decisions when you have a mistake.
Or something else that starts with letter S. I wouldn't
Maybe,
want to
yeah.
say that. But you know what you said
Absolutely.
is really beautiful, Sylvain, and honestly, a timely reminder. Because in a world of fast everything, going back to nature might just be the most progressive thing we can do.
Exactly, yeah. Absolutely.
And that right there, folks, is an absolutely refreshing conversation. We've learned how a career pivot can lead to purpose, how simplicity can be so powerful, and how protecting our skin can also mean protecting our planet. So, Sylvain, thank you so much for sharing your story, your journey, and your mission with us. It's really a pleasure having you. I'm happy to feature you here.
Thanks, Miles. An absolute pleasure talking with you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
And so, for everyone tuning in, if you'd like to learn more about Puru or explore their 100% natural products and sustainability initiatives, you can visit puru.ch or just look for the link below to connect with Sylvain. And of course, do check out Captain Peru and the Frequency Diet. Both are fascinating reflections of what authentic wellness can look like. So, thank you so much for joining us. Catch us again next time. This has been your host, Miles. Stay focused and inspired with X Raced.